Start. Scuba Obsessed, the weekly podcast. We talk about all things scuba diving, from cool new gear, places to dive, and scuba news. Scuba Obsessed episode 553 is recorded live November 3rd, 2022. Welcome back to Scuba Obsessed. I'm Darren Gilson, coming to you from the southwest side of the great state of Michigan. We're joining me this week. We have Jim Schultz. How you doing today, Jim?
I'm just doing great, Darren. Thanks.
That is good to hear. Usually I talk about weather here, but I don't know. I'm a little off it today. All my software has all been updated all at the same time the last week, so we're running with scissors, I think. I've heard somebody say before, so we'll just have to be careful. Hope nobody gets poked.
Live dangerously.
Yeah. Yeah, those scissors, you gotta be careful. They'll ruin a neck seal pretty quick.
Yeah, just let me know if your computer starts smoking.
Yeah, well, it's old, but it's not that old, so it shouldn't be old enough to smoke yet. I'd like to thank everybody who's in the chat room. We have Dave is joining us this week. I'm sure we'll see Karen pop in here in a little bit. Let's go ahead and jump right on into the news. Up the first article we have for this week. Oh, my screens are in the wrong spot. Here we go. Underwater robot competition raises tech limits. This is out of China. Looks like they've got a competition they're doing. 2022 China Underwater Robot Professional Contest happened this last Friday. Let's see this, and I'm not even going to try any of the names. I mean, I guess I should just declare that first. See what the next page looks like. It says the competition is sponsored by National Say that a few times fast. National Natural Science Foundation of China, the city government of Dalian, and then a laboratory of some sort. This year it attracted 20 teams with 110 members from domestic universities. It's a world's sole underwater intelligent robot competition held in the real offshore environment. Says the vice president of the University of Technology, the organizer for the event. In recent years, teams have been making progress in the area of external design, intelligent algorithms integration, and smart grasping. The record for intelligent underwater grasping operations has been constantly increasing. Underwater robots are widely and urgently needed in areas such as sea ranching, subsea pipeline inspection, and specialty operations. The contest has become an exchange program for supply and demand. I'm moving the screen here. Do the Chinese also buy from Amazon or Alibaba? I thought Alibaba was kind of like the Chinese Amazon. I've kind of heard you buy from there, you order twice as many as you need, and you may get enough good ones to use it for whatever you're trying. So it says the university is working closely with the laboratory in artificial intelligence and image processing, underwater robot bodies, and underwater observation systems. The two are also working to build an evaluation test base for marine intelligence equipment in a bid to boost its research and development. We're focusing more on the influence of the contest as well as transformation applications and results. We'll build a platform to promote key projects in the sector. Some technologies and achievements of underwater robots are ready for industrial incubation. The base will play an important role in evaluation of hardware and software underwater vehicles and their industrial designs. We hope to cultivate the underwater counterpart of civilian drone maker DJI technology. That's a nice little pier or dock that they're standing on there.
Yeah. What's nice about those floating docks is you can get them low to the water.
Yeah. The image we got on the screen now is showing a robot with a grasper of some sort. So it looks like in this competition they have some objects in the bottom in the sand they have to pick up.
Were they using sonar or video?
This looks like video or very, very sharp sonar. Do they say? They don't say in the image what it's from. But good to see that competition. There is some of that going on in the U.S., but it looks like if they had 20 teams, that was a pretty good turnout. I think in the U.S. they do one that's over in Maryland, I think is where they've been doing the competition in one of the, I'd like to say Navy pools, but I don't know if it's actually Navy or some other three-letter acronym department.
Mm.
And then a scuba diver has been rescued by mermaids off Catalina Island. Pablo Avila was scuba diving off California's Catalina Island when he suddenly lost consciousness in the water. His friends immediately sprung into action, swimming over to rescue him when they found themselves surrounded by what appeared to be mermaids. We're pulling him and we're getting a little winded and a little tired, and then out of nowhere, a bunch of mermaids show up. Although appearing to have mermaid tails, women were actually sporting diving fins while training Professional Association of Diving Instructors Advanced Mermaid Program. So Patty has an Advanced Mermaid Program?
Yep.
I didn't know that. When they realized the diver was in trouble, swimming over him, the group helped take his gear off, get him to shore. While giving him mouth-to-mouth, they brought him the paramedics who were awaiting. According to Mermaid and Training, Alina Thomas, the group was participating in a protocol for rescuing another mermaid when they noticed the man struggling and coughing foam, which she knows was a sign of air embolism, put into action what she had learned. It's not just blowing bubbles, it's hard work, but it's worth it. The diver has recovered and is doing well. So, what are the odds? Right place in the right time.
And with the right people.
Yep. And then, if you can't get the live ones, there's always a robot mermaid. Stanford's Deepwater Explorer. Deepwater robot developed by the team at Stanford Robotics Lab, headed by roboticist Osama Khatib, capable of descending to depths of 1,000 meters, hence the 1K name, is a bit over a half mile. This humanoid robot is designed to offer human-like controls and a robot body. It has a moving head with 2 stereoscope cameras, 2 arms that can reach out, manipulate objects in its fingers. Propellers across the robot's body help it move through the water, but the real genius is the bot is a haptic controls. The human operator outside the water uses free moving joysticks to direct the robot and move its arms, while the stereoscopic cameras provide 3-dimensional view of the underwater landscape. The operator can watch with 2 camera inputs and a split screen view, or full depth by wearing 3D glasses. The idea is that the robot can go to depths that humans can't, while offering the kind of agility and manual dexterity you would get from a human diver. Ocean One is essentially your hands, your eyes. It's your avatar in the water. The robot started life as a prototype known as Ocean One. After initial development and testing, the team took Ocean One on a series of dives through the Mediterranean in 2016. But though the design worked, the team members realized they wanted to go deeper underwater. So they began to work on Ocean 1K, a new, stronger robot to go almost 10 times deeper than the original Robot Explorer. But going deeper also meant redesigning the robot to survive atmospheric pressures roughly 100 times that of the first robot to withstand. To do that, he and his team had to fill the robot's arms with oil, install special spring mechanisms to compress the oil to match the surrounding water pressure. The design not only protected the sensitive electronics inside the arms from being crushed, it also allowed the robot to float.
They ought to take it to the competition you just read about.
Yeah, they could. So there they got a photo showing it swimming past a wrecked aircraft 67 meters underwater off the coast of Cannes. It says form follows function, namely the ability to explore complex deep water environments like shipwrecks, handle delicate objects like artifacts and corals. In this environment, you cannot work with one arm and one hand. You have to put your arm behind your back and think about how you're going to do things. It's really difficult. So you need two arms. Then you need to see your hand as you move. Already you get the upper body of a human, but remember, this is a mermaid, not a human. We didn't put legs on it. The team of engineering students took the Ocean 1K back to the Mediterranean, testing the robot at different depths. The highlight was diving down to a wrecked Italian steamship, the Lafresco Crispy. It's crispy. I'm sure that's not what it is. 500 meters underwater. Approaching the wreck was one of the most incredible experiences I ever had. You're looking through the eyes of the robot. You see the hand of one of the robots now in your hands. You're moving them. Back at Stanford University, I got behind the controls by the side of the pool, controlled Ocean 1K. It was surreal to see the robot's hand stretching out in front of me, its fingers opening and shutting as I open and shut my hands on the controls.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And I think we're going to see more of these type of mechanisms. And I also see there's going to be equivalents like this for use in space. It's going to be much more practical to have an item like this in space for doing construction. And then you have operators on the ground who would work in shifts running it, at least until they get autonomous. So this, I think, is a good area of research if anybody's into that. And then we may have a new world record. This is from divernet.com. Deepest female scuba diver just added 10 meters. Oh.
She needs to organize her tanks better.
She has quite a few there in that photo.
She needs a scuba obsessed logo tank.
Yeah, there you go. Just what could go wrong with that? So Karen van der Oven prepares to break her own world record. The woman acclaimed by Guinness World Records as the world's deepest female scuba diver has just dived deeper still, claiming a new record of 10.6 meters beyond the one set in March last year. South African technician diver Karen van der Oven ascended to 246.65 meters on open circuit in a renowned Bosmangat Cave in Northern Cape Province. The dive site, the world's third deepest known sinkhole, lies at an altitude of 1.5 kilometers above sea level, making it particularly challenging in terms of decompression times. The dive, which took place on 27th October, lasted 8 hours, 11 minutes, and the record now awaits official verification by the Guinness World Records. van der Oven, well, I said Oven, there's no N in there, Over, is an instructor with technical diving school somewhere out there diving, SWAT. Members which supported her dive, a massive thank you to most amazing team, she said later. Without you, none of this would be possible. Last year, DiverNet reported how SWAT had supported van der Over as she set the previous 236 meter record. A science graduate from the University of Witwatersrand in her hometown of Johannesburg. She took up diving in 2001. Breaking the cave depth record became her personal goal from 2004, which was then followed fellow South African diver Werner van Schaik set a record that would last 17 years. Van der Over took to technical diving 2006, gradually built the skills and confidence to attempt the record. She trained with Numo Gomez, who in 1996 has set the men's deepest cave dive record at 282.6 in the same location. He's acclaimed his former students' latest achievements. God, those are some deep depths. What was that decompression time? 8 hours, 11 minutes? Or that's a total dive. So that, wow. A lot of gas.
Yeah, that explains all the multiple bottles for different gas at different depth.
Yeah. So those are probably mostly her bailouts, because when you, on a dive like that, stage the other bottles so that, you know, this would be if for some reason you couldn't locate a stage bottle.
I probably would stage most of them, but you know, it's going to be transition bottles.
Yep. Tiger sharks help scientists map vast underwater meadows in Bahamas. So, like, if we don't get the mermaids to help or the robots, then we just use the tiger sharks. I had to look because they said tiger sharks, and then here these aren't tiger sharks, are they? Sea glass meadows, more than just a blue carbon sinks, feeding ground. Oh, rays. Yeah, because that's what I thought. Those were rays. Given their fierce and carnivorous sounding name, it might be surprising to find out tiger sharks spend a lot of their time swimming in lush marine greenery. Study published today in the Journal of Nature Communications details how tiger sharks helped the team of researchers map out a giant meadow of seagrass. The data from the underwater shark plotted cameras helped the team discover one of the largest seagrass meadows on Earth. Located in warm waters, Bahama. Researchers from institutions including Carleton University in Canada, King Abdullah University in Science and Technology in Saudi Arabia, Trinity College in Ireland, Beneath the Waves in Virginia, based conservation nonprofit, use satellite tags to track individual tiger sharks as they traverse the Bahamas with biologging cameras. According to the author, the study shows the first other use of 360-degree cameras on marine animal. In confirming the various benthic habitat types in the Bahamas and their corresponding use by sharks, we found that tiger sharks spend about 70% of their time swimming over seagrass meadows. So the sharks allowed the researchers to see into areas that aren't easily accessible by humans to map the meadows. Satellite tagged swam more than 2,485 miles in both regions. Since they're sharks, their big fish can explore deeper areas than those surveyed by humans. The tiger sharks extended well below the depth of limits of seagrass, further in the interior of the Great Bahama Bank. Areas not logistically possible for human access. When reviewing the camera footage, the biggest notable behavior was just how much of their time was spent patrolling seagrass meadows. And they say when referring to the global seagrass carbon sink estimates, Our results indicate the seagrass in the Bahamas may contain 19.2 to 26.3% of all the carbon sequestered in seagrass meadows on Earth. So, of the carbon in seagrass meadows, Bahamas has 19 to 26%. So, I guess that's believable. It would have to depend on what the concentration of seagrass meadows are. I go on and talk about it. But I mean, it's a good idea. I like seeing, taking advantage of new ways to document and record. Okay. And the last one we have on the list for this week is Underwater Explorer documents wartime wreckage off Maui and Lanai. An underwater explorer from Kailua just spent 2 weeks documenting submerged military wreckage off Maui and Lanai. Photos he took will help scientists with their preservation planning. Marine archaeologist Dominic Bush studies submerged World War II aircraft and shipwrecks. I can't even get U.S. town names. Is it Kailua? Kailua, native and East Carolina University PhD candidate, and his research team just completed fascinating survey near the Hawaiian Islands. We're now taking a little bit more zoomed out approach, so we're doing lots of photos, video documentation of these sites. The sites are where the remains of fighter planes sit submerged in the ocean floor. I've been diving the airplane wrecks all throughout the Pacific. I would have to say Hell Diver here in Malaya Bay is maybe one of the best preserved submerged plane wrecks in the entire world, Bush recalled. The team also used drones to capture aerial shots of a refueling ship and military scuttled in the reef in the 1940s. The flyover showed how much the vessel has deteriorated over the decade. Normally, we wouldn't be able to get that imagery, but with the drone technology, it's a really useful way of getting things that are much higher than where we're able to view. He intends to use photographs and videos to make three-dimensional models of the wreck as a point of reference for future studies. That will give site managers, archaeologists, state officials, and the public in the area how these sites change and what can be done better to protect and preserve them for future generations. Let's see. That's a little video on here. We'll see what they show on that. If it doesn't blow my ears off.
You know, I hear all this stuff about preserving these shipwrecks or managing the wrecks. What are they going to do?
They're not gonna.
You know, they're not going to do anything but just let them collapse in on themselves.
Yeah, I mean, but all you can do is maybe make sure people know they're out there, so they don't, drop an anchor on them, or maybe they put buoys out there. I'd like for them to encourage people to go diving on it.
Yeah,
I mean, when we
if it becomes a collapse hazard, then great. You start notifying people of the extreme danger that's there. But you're not going to do anything to prevent a collapse.
No, they tried that with the monitor. Remember all the work they did on that? Put concrete sandbags and a ton of stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
About the only thing you can do, and that is very expensive, would be to bring it up. And that brings a whole nother set of challenges. And it has to be unique enough. I mean, many of these, you probably have better examples on the surface than you do the ones that are in the water. Okay. Well, that does it for Scuba in the News. So are we aware of anybody getting any diving in this last week?
No, I haven't seen anything. I'm going to try to get something in this weekend.
Ah, so I saw you were out on the river quite a bit with the inflatable.
Yeah, hanging out, sitting on top of the shoal, marking it for the ships to come in and go out.
How big is the shoal now? For those who didn't hear about it, the sandbar in a storm recently had moved in and is obscuring some of the traffic that comes into the port here in St. Joe.
Well, the area it's sitting in is normally 21 to 25 feet deep, and we've got some places where it's now only 12 feet deep. Across the front of the piers where the ships normally would pass, it's 17 feet deep. So we've got 4 to 5 feet of sand that has piled up there, and it's, probably 25, 30 yards wide and maybe 100 yards long. I need to survey the whole thing so we can get a volume estimate so they'll know what they got to dredge. Corps of Engineers has been doing a lot of work out there, analysis,
Mm-hmm.
but their focus is on the shipping channel, not outside the channel. So, if I think if they don't do something of the area outside the channel, it's just going to collapse in and drift on over. You can dig a trench, but if you don't dig the walls back and
Mm-hmm.
make it a wide trench, as soon as you're done digging, it's going to start collapsing in on you.
Kind of like a
And
castle
that
on the
same thing can
beach.
happen. Pardon?
Kind of like a sandcastle on the beach. You always try and dig
Yeah.
stuff out, and then everything just kind of sloughs and moves together.
Yep. So if they don't expand the area outside of the channel and get rid of some of that sand, it's just going to blow right back into the channel.
Yeah, Dave in the chat saying amazing how the weather shifted on the bottom, and it certainly does. I'm always amazed. I can remember stories of my grandfather talking about all these developers would come into his marina and talk about how they had this foolproof seawall and they were going to do this and do that. And he said, I should have bet him because it's like, they had tons of concrete disappear because of the storms. It was there before the storm, and after it, nobody knew where it went to.
Yeah. Well, I dove a wreck, North Atlantic. That was in 60 feet of water, and the wreck was on its side. And about a third of it was covered, buried in the sand over the years. And we had a hurricane go through and pass pretty much right over top of it. I dove it the week before the hurricane, and I dove it the week after the hurricane. And it washed between 20 and 25 feet of sand out from underneath this wreck. It was a tug that had flying bridges off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And one flying bridge, on the bottom side, the port side of the wreck, was exposed, that it had never been seen and exposed before. It still had the wheel and the binnacle and the telegraph on the flying bridge that became great targets of salvage before its sand filled it back in.
Yeah, he said, Dave is saying that Max Wreck is probably cleared off right now, but it'll be covered next week.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about getting out to the Havana and see how much of this is, the sand came off the Havana, because the storm was coming out of the north, so it was carrying sand down the beach, and it changes from year to year. That's what's so incredible. I think we've mentioned it before, but I mean the city of Green Bay, That whole wreckage was picked up and moved a couple 100 yards one winter.
Okay. Let's see. So you, what's the dive plans for this weekend?
Ted had mentioned doing the Marmot boat launch down in Niles if
Okay.
we don't get too much rain Friday night and Saturday morning.
How the rivers been? They pretty good?
Very low and very slow.
Okay.
So, yeah, the Paw Paw River running through the marina, I'm sorry, through the golf course, is probably down 2 to 3 feet. St. Joe River's down at least 2 to 3 feet from springtime.
Mhm.
That doesn't help the shoaling situation either, because with the lake being down or the water shifting out there, it makes it even tougher to get in. But we've had 2 separate ships, one last week, one this week, came in, went to Holcomb Cement and offloaded cement for the area.
About how much of a load are they coming in with? They're about half, would you say?
Um,
I don't,
well, the first one came in with a 17-foot draft. The second one came in and it took them 14 hours to offload. Second one came in with a 15-foot draft and it took them 8 hours to offload. So volume wise, I don't know, what it was in cubic feet or in weight, however they measure it. But
Mhm. Okay. Well, cool.
of course, I know they loaded the second one light because they wanted to get in the harbor, come in the harbor in daylight and go out of the harbor in daylight. And they didn't want to spend the night in the harbor. So they basically gave it an 8-hour unload time, loaded what they could unload in 8 hours.
Well, good. Well, it's glad to see it didn't completely close up the port. Well, I don't think I have anything else for this week. Kind of a light week as far as activity going on. Did you have anything you wanted to plug before we got on out of here?
Let's see. The scuba show coming up November the 19th in Ohio, I believe.
If that's what Dave was saying.
I know we've got some of the locals around here doing, locals, I mean, Western Michigan celebrities doing their personalities, doing some shows and speaking events coming up. So, but it's still warm enough to get out and dive. Water hasn't gotten hard yet.
Yep. No need for a
We're getting
chainsaw.
temps in the 60s and 70s during the day, so it's no reason not to be in. I guess I'll have to go to work tomorrow and see if I can find the leaks in my dry suit.
Yeah, that's what I've got to get all my stuff together. It's all kind of spread everywhere. Get it organized. See if I can fit a dive in here pretty soon. With everything else I have going on, it's been hard to think about diving. But when you have a weekend clear up, you just got to make time for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's time for that part of the show.
All right.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Well, we have a husband and a wife who work for the Circus Go, an adoption agency looking to adopt a child. But the social worker raises doubts about their suitability. So the couple produces photos of their 50-foot motorhome, which is clean, well maintained, and equipped with the beautiful nursery. The social worker is satisfied by this, but then raises concerns about the kind of education a child would receive while in the couple's care. The husband puts their mind at ease by saying, "We've arranged for a full-time tutor who will teach a child all the usual subjects along with French, Mandarin, and computer skills." Next, though, the social worker expressed concerns about the child's being raised in a circus environment. This time, the wife explains, "Oh, our nanny is certified expert in pediatric care, welfare, and diet." The social workers are finally satisfied and ask the couple, "What age of child are you hoping to adopt?" The husband says, "Well, it really doesn't matter as long as the kid fits in the canon."
Okay.
Hey, you got to join the family business somehow. So on that note, go out there and get wet.
And stay safe. And no mermaids were harmed in the making of tonight's show, but they did help save a scuba diver. So credit to the mermaids.
That's a good long lag. Oh, Karen just popped in.